The 10 oldest ancient civilizations that have ever existed. In Part 2. Number 5. The Chinese Civilization. Number 4. The Maya Civilization. Number 3. The Ancient Egyptian Civilization. Number 2. The Indus Valley Civilization. Number 1. The Mesopotamian Civilization. Thanks for watching. Like and share my video. Subscribe my YouTube channel. Number 5. The Chinese Civilization. Period, 1600 BC 1046 BC. Original location, Yellow River and Yangtze region. Current location, country of China. Major highlights, invention of paper and silk. Ancient China, also known as Han China, comes in at number 5 and doubtlessly has one of the most diverse histories. In fact, if you consider all the dynasties from the very first to the very last that ever ruled in China, a significantly huge period of time needs to be covered. The Yellow River Civilization is said to be the beginning of the entire Chinese civilization, as this is where the earliest dynasties were based. It was around 2700 BC that the legendary Yellow Emperor began his rule, which later led to the birth of many dynasties that went on to rule mainland China. In 2070 BC, the Xia dynasty became the first to rule the whole of China as described in ancient historical chronicles. From then on, there were a number of dynasties that held control during different periods of time until the end of the Qing dynasty in 1912 AD with the Zhe Revolution. This marked the end of more than 4 millennia of ancient Chinese civilization. By this time, however, the Chinese had given the world some of its most useful inventions and products such as gunpowder, paper, printing, the compass, alcohol, cannons, and many more. Number 4. The Maya Civilization. Period, 2600 BC 900 AD. Original location, around present-day Yucatan. Current location, Yucatan, Quintana, Campeche, Tabasco, and Chiapas in Mexico and south through Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras. Major highlights, complex understanding of astronomy. The ancient Maya civilization flourished in Central America from about 2600 BC and has been much talked about because of the calendar it introduced. Once established, the Mayan civilization went on to prosper and become highly sophisticated with a booming population of about 19 million at its peak. By 700 BC, the Mayans had already devised their own system of writing which they used to create solar calendars carved in stone. According to them, the world was created on August the 11th, 3114 BC, which is the date from which their calendar begins. The supposed end date was December the 21st, 2012. The ancient Mayans were culturally rich compared to many of their contemporary civilizations, and the Mayans and Aztecs both built pyramids, many of which are larger than those in Egypt. But the sudden decline and abrupt end of the Mayans has long been one of ancient history's most intriguing mysteries. Why did the Mayans, a remarkably sophisticated civilization made up of more than 19 million people, suddenly collapse sometime during the 8th or 9th century? The Maya people did not disappear completely, however, their descendants still live in parts of Central America. Number 3. The Ancient Egyptian Civilization. Period, 3150 BC 30 BC. Original location, banks of the Nile. Current location, Egypt. Major highlights, construction of pyramids. Ancient Egypt is one of the oldest and culturally rich civilizations on this list. The ancient Egyptian civilization, a majestic civilization from the banks of the Nile, is known for its prodigious culture, its pharaohs, the enduring pyramids, and the Sphinx. The civilization coalesced around 3150 BC, according to conventional Egyptian chronology, with the political unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under the first pharaoh. But this would not have been possible had there not already been settlers around the Nile Valley in early 3500 BC. The history of ancient Egypt can be divided into a series of stable kingdoms separated by periods of relative instability known as intermediate periods: the Old Kingdom of the Early Bronze Age, the Middle Kingdom of the Middle Bronze Age, and the New Kingdom of the Late Bronze Age. Ancient Egypt gave us the pyramids, the mummies that preserve the ancient pharaohs to this day, hieroglyphics, and much more. Ancient Egypt reached its pinnacle during the New Kingdom, when pharaohs like Ramesses the Great ruled with such authority that another contemporary civilization, the Nubians, also came under Egyptian rule. Number 2. The Indus Valley Civilization. Period, 3300 BC 1900 BC. Original location, around the basin of the Indus River. Current location, northeast Afghanistan to Pakistan and northwest India. Major highlights: one of the most widespread civilizations, covering 1.25 million kilometers. One of the oldest civilizations on this list, the Indus Valley Civilization lies at the very heart of subsequent civilizations that arose in the region of the Indus Valley. This civilization flourished in areas extending from what is today northeast Afghanistan to Pakistan and northwest India. Along with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, it was one of three early civilizations of the ancient world, and of the three, it was the most widespread, covering an area of 1.25 million kilometers. Entire populations were settled in the Indus River basin, one of the major rivers in Asia, and another river named Gagahakra which once used to flow through northeast India and eastern Pakistan. Also known as the Harappa Civilization and the Mohenjo-Daro Civilization, named after the excavation sites where the remains of the civilization were found. The peak phase of this civilization is said to have lasted from 2600 BC to around 1900 BC. A sophisticated and technologically advanced urban culture is evident in the Indus Valley Civilization, making its capital the first urban center in the region. The people of the Indus Valley Civilization achieved great accuracy in measuring length, mass, and time, and based on artifacts found in excavations, it is evident that the culture was rich in arts and crafts as well. Number 1. The Mesopotamian Civilization. Period, 3500 BC 500 BC. Original location, northeast by the Zagros Mountains, southeast by the Arabian Plateau. Current location, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. Meaning, land between rivers, ancient Greek. Major highlights: first civilization in the world. And here it is, the first civilization to have ever emerged. The origin of Mesopotamia dates back so far that there is no known evidence of any other civilized society before them. The timeline of ancient Mesopotamia is usually held to be from around 3300 BC to 750 BC. Mesopotamia is generally credited as being the first place where civilized society truly began to take shape. It was somewhere around 8000 BC that people developed the idea of agriculture and slowly started to domesticate animals for both food and to assist in farming. People had already been creating art well before the Mesopotamians, but this was part of human culture, not human civilization. It was the Mesopotamian civilization that refined this, adding to and formalizing all these systems, and combining them to create the first civilization. They prospered in the regions of modern-day Iraq, then known as Babylonia, Sumer, and the Assyria highlands. Conclusion. Modern-day culture and civilization owes a lot to the earliest civilizations that emerged after millions of years of human evolution. Human civilization has come a long way from an age when there were no defined means of communication and hunting was the primary source of food. Gradually, agriculture took over from foraging, animals were domesticated, societies were created and developed, and eventually led to the societies that we live in today. Each individual civilization listed here contributed in many ways: new inventions, new ideas, new cultures, philosophies, lifestyles, etc. From the very cradle of civilization to the modern day, what we have become is a result of all civilizations that came before. Thanks for watching. Like and share my video. Subscribe my YouTube channel.